All right, so welcome to another video from the chart readers. So we will be doing stock talks on the EV sector. So it's been a little more than a week, I think. I made this last video on the 16th, so we will do a quick review. And then I'm actually adding a new ticker. So someone in the comment section wanted to learn about charge point, not chart point, sorry about that. So we will add charge point to this. So, and then with that, if you ever want me to add a ticker, please throw it in the comments. I'm more than happy to. So yeah, make it a little more interactive. But look, as we always do, we're going to look at the daily as well as the weekly. I've been doing that. We're going to use our moving averages as well as these support and resistance lines that I drew, as well as these lower indicators for that little extra reassurance. So we'll start with the big one. We'll start with Tesla and work our way through. So what's happened? Again, we made this video on the 16th, right? So it's actually been a pretty sad couple days. So a few things to note, right? We actually made 2 attempts at breaking the 200. I do love seeing that, right? Generally, you try to break one, you do make this little bounce, and then hopefully you go up, right? Unfortunately, it didn't here, right? It does look like we've been playing in this channel, right? This 950 and change as well as this 860 and change. And really, we're pretty much sitting right at the line, right? Ignore these 2 wicks. I'm pretty sure this is some sort of, this program does it every now and then. I have to wait till tomorrow for it to refresh. And really, I use this more for the indicators than I do for anything else, right? But yeah, I don't think the wicks were this extreme. Nonetheless, you know, it kind of is a little foreshadowing that something's about to happen with these lines, right? But where are we? Look, we are now 2 days under the 8. We're now 1 day under the 20. And we've been under this 200 for now 2 days as well, right? So all signs really are pointing to we're about to lose this 860 and more than likely head down here to this 825, give or take, right? Again, not the best view down here. Clearly, we've lost the green, right? The green is now under the red, and it looks like it has a pretty good downslope going. And then, you know, RSI has been looking like this for a while, right? It's under the red. We always want green over red. The RSI is starting to get pretty low, but really it can get lower, right? We've seen 19s on this bad boy, right? So sub 30s is never ideal. It does look like, though, hopefully this 36 might be a little bit more of a stopping point. But again, it could get bad, right? And look, the major markets aren't looking well either. So if the NASDAQ doesn't do well, Tesla more than likely will not do well either. But yeah, all things are kind of pointing to this 825 right now on Tesla. Again, we see here, right? We've been playing with the 50 on the weekly, right? And you'll find that the 200 on the daily and the 50 on the weekly sometimes marry up. Not saying that that's always a thing, but it's something I've actually noticed. Nonetheless, look, we try to break the 50. We couldn't. We're still holding on this line as well, but where's this green at? Look, so 840 and 825, those are kind of the 2 numbers. Hopefully we don't go down here, right, down to this 805. But yeah, Tesla is not looking great on the daily or the weekly. I will say, though, this RSI doesn't look bad, right? So I would, if it wasn't for the markets doing poorly, it might have done okay. But it's interesting to see this RSI for a weekly, especially how it started, right? It started lower than last week, but that's kind of interesting. So that was Tesla. Next up is Mullen. And man, Mullen is a sad story here, not going to lie. So it looks like we just lost the 78 line as well. I actually didn't know that. But yeah, I've kind of looked away from Mullen if you really want to know the truth, right? So where are we? We've just been trading under the 8 for such a long time. There was what looked like a really good moment right here. But no, we just couldn't get over this 20 moving average. I've also kind of said that I wanted to get over this 96 cents before I even made a move, right? I need not only a good couple days, I need a follow through, right? It's easy to have a day or two. It's pretty hard to have like 4 days, right? So this is why I do always stress you want that reassurance, right? You want that confirmation. At this point, look, we bounced off the 78 once, twice, right? There's actually a bunch of bounces right here. ultimately this third one was just too much. And, you know, all signs are pretty much showing that we're heading down at 62 cents, right? This could have some meme power, don't get me wrong, but I don't like buying a stock and praying that some meme power comes behind it, right? That's how I do my business. So kind of sad to see here. That's definite, right? Looking at the weekly again, I mean, there's not a, and also it looks like the weekly is about to turn. We actually might be losing the RSI on the weekly. Weekly is also pretty low, but again, look, this thing literally was at 0, right? I mean, what's this one at? This is even at 12, right? I'm using this point down here, 14, 12, whatever, right? So Mullen, I realize it looks bad, and you might be telling yourself, how can it get worse? I'm telling you, it could get worse. You could easily hit 62 cents and then actually very easily lose 62 cents. And is there anything below this? Man, there isn't. We really could. I hope it doesn't, because again, I'm always a positive fan, but 54 cents is also realistic. I guess I should draw a line there, actually, basically on the end of that day. And again, I'm ballparking, but that looks about right. It looks like it's a little high, but whatever. Yeah, let's lower it just for actualities. So, I mean, again, 62 cents looks like it might happen. There's very little, just like I say, a gap up when there's a bunch of reds. There's nothing but red in this chunk here, right? So, oh man, Mullen, be careful. That's all I can say. I know people want, I know there's a lot of people that want this one to do well like it used to, but yeah, the signs just are not there yet. LIDR, LIDAR. So LIDAR made a pretty good run. Oh my goodness, it made a hard fall. Clearly, I had no money in this one. I had no idea what was going on here. But LIDAR, man, literally just right after our video. So we made a good break of this, and we didn't quite get to that 301, and then it just fell, right? I've always said I'm never really a fan when the day's action opens so much lower than your last candle, right? Generally, you want to be at least 50%, hopefully above 50%. Obviously, well above it is beautiful, right? But opening at around halfway or lower is generally a bad sign, right? And I mean, just really in the last couple days, gave up almost everything that it did on this early July run. This is extremely sad to see. And look, I hope at the minimum you use these to at least set yourself up for somewhat of a success when this thing fell off, right? You could have put a stop loss right here if you got in early. If it lost the 273, you could have stopped out. You could have done a stop loss at this 8 moving average, right? If it fell below, you could have stopped out. You could have even made a stop here, right? And even if you wanted to use there's so many places you could have set a stop. And I hope you are, right? It's not really something I talk about on this, but LIDAR, my goodness, I'll be honest, I did not know this was the case. And look, hopefully we're getting some kind of bounce off this line. It looks like I'm going to need to make some other lines. So I'll probably do that on the weekly just to get an easier view instead of a really, really wide zoom out. But man, let's take a look at the weekly. So actually, these don't look good for the weekly setup, right? Both have the green under the red, and this RSI it's still going down despite the fact that it's so low, right? And my goodness, there is no more history. Oh my gosh, where did I even, I'm sure this came from the daily. Give me a second. Where did this is 72? Oh my goodness, that's from here. Ladies and gentlemen, if LIDAR loses 172, this could see all-time lows. Be careful with LIDAR. I had no idea that this was the case. And again, I hope you use some of these as much as they could be an entry for you to go up. You can definitely use them as an exit out, right? My goodness, LIDAR, ouch. Cannot lose 172. EvGo, EvGo. Oh my, again, same story here, right? Man, this is sad. Look, again, the NASDAQ's not looking good, so you have to imagine tech is not going to be doing good, especially what we're going to basically consider startup tech, right? Tesla is really the only big boy that we've reviewed so far, right? So, yeah, as much as they go up very quickly, they do go down very quickly when you know the market conditions aren't there. And again, there are several places you could have used this as your stop loss. I'm sure we talked about the high RSI on the last video as well. So we're looking at a little worse than a cool down, right? This is definitely a loss of every single moving average. It's a loss of multiple support lines in a number of days. Yeah, this is concerning, right? And again, you can't beat the market. Hopefully you're riding the market. And if you watch my major market videos, again, I'm not saying I'm the best or I'm great or anything like that, but yeah, I generally have an idea if it's going to be good or bad, right? And it's basically doing this exact same tactic on those views. So keep an eye out for that. Nonetheless, look, the weekly, man, we're right on this very important 2 moving average point, right? Just as hard as it is to break 2 moving averages up, you shouldn't lose 2 moving averages down in one swoop. If you do, that is bad. So hopefully we do not get much lower than, we'll call it 875, right? I mean, that's too low, but yeah, don't want to go into that mid 8 because that's going to get real scary. And actually that is the next coming line actually. So man, EvGo, hopefully a lot of you have banked some good profit, or like I said, at least use some of these points, either my support lines or these moving averages as your exit. So I imagine we're going to see the same VLDR across the rest of the sector. Look at that, almost the exact same chart, right? These like hardcore step downs. Again, the hope was it was a cool down, right? A high RSI, you just kind of work your way back down, then go up. These have just been pretty dramatic, right? I mean, this alone was a 7% loss, and some of these look a lot bigger than this little red right here, right? So yeah, VLDR. Again, I got to stress it. I normally, and I guess it's kind of my fault, right? I normally talk about these lines as entry points. These are very much exit points as well once you start losing them. Because again, I as confident as I am that when you break it, it goes up quickly, you lose them, it goes down quickly too, right? You need to bounce off this one. Otherwise, you're probably coming to this one. You need to bounce off this one. Otherwise, you're probably coming to this, and so on and so forth, right? So, yeah, use these lines for ups and downs as well. So I'm kind of flying through these because, again, this sector is looking, I mean, repetitive across these tickers, right? So, yeah. Little scary time. And again, all of these are pretty much startups, right? I'm not saying that to be offensive in any way, but these are not Tesla. These are not Toyota. This is Solo, some 3-wheel car company in Canada. Again, I can't make any cars, right? It's more power to them. But yeah, it's going to get basically 5 days in a row bad versus Tesla, right? So yeah, it's just know what you're trading, right? Know what you're trading. It's real important to understand that. But again, I don't need to say the same things, right? Once you lost this line, you could have gotten out. Once you lost the 8, I hope you got out. Because again, the rule is stay over the 8, right? That's a real basic one. So on and so forth. So what does the weekly look like? Oh man, this lost the 8 on the weekly. None of them have actually done that. Maybe a couple other did. I don't know if I paid attention or not, but that's a bad sign, right? You at least want to be above the 8 on the weekly. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for a couple bad weeks, and a couple bad weeks means a lot of bad days, right? So again, play with your time frames. It's super important. PSNY, Polestar. Oh man, this is another one, right? I've seen so many posts about the fact that like investors were buying in at $9 before it went IPO, all that. Look, this is for sure a meme stock potential. I do not buy stocks praying for meme power, right? You're under the 8 right here. It's game over. You get 4 bad days behind it. That should be no surprise if you've been watching these videos, right? I've always said, look, I use a more complex view. I use something I called the 1. This chart reader's view isn't bad, people. I promise you, more often than not, you'll have a better view using this or any real like any real technical analysis with a plan is good, right? I don't want to say that this is the best by any means, but like, look, this day literally ended right on my line, right? I mean, again, there's little things that should show you the power of this stuff, right? And look, at this point, we are hitting all-time lows on PSNY. Polestar is literally at the lowest it's ever been. And why? We've lost this line. Hopefully we get a little bounce, but look, RSI and MACD, green is under the red. Both are kind of telling me we're not done here, right? Like there's still blood to be had. Yeah, there's actually no wick lower than where we're at right now. This closing price is the lowest it's ever been since it started trading, right? So, my condolences if you're holding this, right? I mean, in all sincerity, I'm not trying to be mean, but there are a lot of signs that you could have cut the cord, right? And I hope you're using these videos accordingly. You know, this is not financial advice, of course, but... And then it took way too long to get to this, so I do apologize because I still have to draw some lines, but this is charge point. I did draw some lines because I made a reply, but... yeah, look at that. We're actually at the lowest of my reply of my lines, right? And it's just over. Is it under it? Let me actually take an exact. So we closed at 1423. The 100 is 1421. So we're a couple cents over it, but oh man, it really seems like we're gonna lose this 200. Sorry, this 100. Let me make a couple lines. I'll put one right there, and then I'll put one. Oops. Right there. So this is charge point, and again, look, the entire sector kind of had the same cadence of losing important lines on both the daily and the weekly. So trade safely, watch the NASDAQ. Hopefully we can bounce off 12.5 on the NASDAQ. Again, if you watch my video, you'll know what that means, but otherwise just trade safely out there.